info about the Arctic, because I know that whatever the reason is that you want to visit Arctic areas, maybe it's in your plans for this year or maybe for the future, but it's quite different to lots of you who live in different part of the world. So just to share tips and experience, hoping to help both rookies, first timers, and then also more advanced people. So definitely will be open to questions. And the scenery is from Western Lapland, from where I am based. And we're based in the area called the Seven Fells area by the National Park of Pallas-Ylläs. And this is, it's the largest national park in Finland, but also the oldest. And the Seven Fells here is one of them. So in Finland, we don't have big mountains, but we have these bumps. And these vary from 500 to 1,000 meters. So it's a playground, great playground for all amazing things. And here's what we'll cover a little bit today. Maybe about 40 minutes or so, and then time for your questions as well. If you have something burning, you can just unmute yourself and ask right away, or then afterwards. And you can also put questions on the chat. If you look at the chat now, there are links to the website and to the Finland Arctic Challenge, and also our emails. So you can already paste them and pick them up from there if you would like. So yeah, my background. So a lot of you here today are actually from Hong Kong, and that's where I used to live and work for 15 years. So I've been quite lucky I left Finland when I was 24 years old and traveled a lot and have worked around a lot in different places, and mainly organizing events, both for like business events, but then also these rough country desert races around the world, in Antarctica and Gobi Desert and all kinds of places. And I know that a lot of you know me from those times as well. There are quite big operational challenges and a lot of logistics involved, and then also lots of people to look after. But yet we still always work in those most amazing places. So I think that's given me the experience and just the sort of vision of doing what people want and how we want to do things. And that's what I will share a little bit about as well. So yeah, sometimes you have to go far to see close, and then in the last few years I started coming to Finland more, visiting, and I could see like, wow, there's so many amazing things. And here we don't really have anything tallest or biggest in terms of architecture, for instance. It's all about experiences and the nature. And Lapland is the last and the true wilderness in Europe, so it's a great playground for things like this. So that's why the Arctic escapades. Now it's my turn to show the best spots for you guys then. Okay, but maybe a little bit about the life in Finland in general. So this is definitely not for all, but it's definitely worth a visit at least once. So we are located above the Arctic Circle, actually. So the official Arctic Circle line goes 66 degrees north. And our location is in the Western Lapland, where you see the red dot, the host towns of Ylläs and Levi, depending on what we do. And there's an airport there, so it's actually fairly easy to get up to the Arctic Circle area. And really, what here you can see are sort of local life. So the first picture, you can see that our kids learn to ski quite early, and this is actually how I used to go to school also many mornings. So just a backpack on and then off we go. Then you can see reindeer herders. That is the most traditional profession in Finland, and it's basically two groups of people who do whose livelihood is reindeer herding. One is the Sami people, who are the authentic people, the indigenous people of Lapland, and they are actually Sami are the only indigenous tribe in the whole of Europe, actually. So the way of living is very interesting, and we have them across Norway, Sweden, Finland, and also north part of Russia as well. Here they are doing reindeer separation, which is part of their October activity every year. They basically go left, you're dead, right, you live, and you grow more. So that's the way how they live. Then kick sleds. So in that picture you see also how me and Sanna probably used to go to school, but it's just a really practical way. You can get your groceries on top, or your friend can sit there. You can pick your friend from the pub with those if you like. Whenever it's icy or snowy, they are faster ways of moving than walking. And then you see we hunt as well. So there's a guy, a hunter, and again, skiing is a very practical way of moving out in the wilderness. So he's doing his hunting with skis. And the cold time, so you will see here soon that we got 3 winters essentially, and ranging from 0, which is now basically, it's just started, and then all the way to sort of minus 35 degrees. I could actually ask you, you can shout or you can type, what is the coldest temperature where you have ever been to?
Minus 26.
That's pretty cold. Was that in Iceland?
It was in, no, it was in Antarctica.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
For
me, it
wasn't too bad.
Summertime in Antarctica or winter?
Very nice. Yeah. For me, it was Scotland. I think it was only, minus, it was 0 to -5, but a wet cold is a different kind of cold compared to a Canadian or a Finnish cold.
Yeah. There any temperatures in the chats, Rainer, do you see?
No.
Okay, so that's good for me to know. So basically not too much experience on the cold, which is perfect. So everything, my point of existing for you here is that I'd rather people to be a bit less experienced. The whole point is not having previous skills or not being experienced with the cold, because that's why the whole experience for you is a lot more impactful. So my job here is to make it easy for you to come as a rookie for the first time and be safe and enjoy. That's a sort of a common misconception that I need to be able to ski or I need to be able to know these things, what to wear ahead of your time. And that's not true at all. So we'll teach you. Everything is sort of beginner level. Of course, you can do some things in Lapland that require a lot of experience. And those are then separate things, but that's how we run here. I've mentioned a little bit about the cold. So a lot of people also feel like they don't know what to expect and they think it's awful. And like Martin said, for instance, that he's been in the wet cold. These really cold weathers that we have, they are usually dry. So the drier the weather, the less cold it actually feels. And also oftentimes, so for me, the coldest I've been to was minus 42 degrees. This was 25 years back. And not even in Lapland, it was in the central lakelands, just for a couple of days. And it was very dry, no wind. So like, yeah, freaking cold, but not as cold as you might think it actually is. Okay, yeah, so I was talking about the Thai lady. So a couple of winters back when I was living, this is now my 5th winter living in Lapland. And there was a Thai lady who came with her Finnish husband, and she had never been in anywhere wintry before. And they spent the coldest time from January to February in the sort of hiking and doing all kinds of trips and treks for 2 months in the sort of minus 20 to minus 25, minus 30 even weather. And she really loved it. And so I've used her as a good benchmark of, that it's you don't need to, your skin needs not to be used to it. You get used to it whilst you're there. It was definitely very different to her. So yeah, here's what we do. So all-inclusive, mainly experiences, because you don't need to see our local post office or anything like that. I'd like you to sort of come straight from the airport and we'll take you to the best spots. And impactful, that's the whole point. Things that you like improve your everyday life when you go back home. Learn new skills in a Finnish way, that you have Finnish guides, rather than something else. And we'll tell you about the culture, and you get to learn to light up your own sauna if you like, a wood burn sauna, and really do things in a local way. That's the whole point. Mostly it's groups and different kind of private things, but then we did open the one event for next winter, which is the Finland Arctic Challenge. And the idea is that people can just easily sign up as individuals and join. Here, just briefly, so Lapland, we actually have 8 seasons. And because we're so north, that's why the seasons are so extreme. And it's not just the weather, but it's the light. So what is very cool is that the midnight sun period, for instance, the sun doesn't set at all. So at 3 a.m., it's up in the sky. And then the opposite of that is the polar night, when the sun doesn't actually rise at all. So we have a lot of beautiful color throughout the long morning, and then the same again in a reverse order in the afternoon. There is a little bit of light, but not sharp, bright light at all. And the nights are just very beautiful. And at Arctic Escapades, we focus, at least for now, we focus in the winter. So from polar night through to the cold time, all the way to the spring and the snow crust season. Here's the polar nights. And what you can see, the right side photos are actually from my home. I've taken them from the same place. So you can recognize it from the trees. So the purple photo was around 10:30 after when I came back from cross-country ski. And then in the evening after work, I could watch the northern lights just from my home yard. And the other picture where you see the road, my home road, that's actually the moon, and it's 11 a.m. there. And the photo with a very cold building has been taken end of January. So the sun is already up and we get a little bit of sunlight every day. And then the day from there gets longer very, very quickly. So yeah, it is to me, and I think also to you, I think it's the most mesmerizing, most impactful season of all times, anytime from December to February. And I think that's because it is just so different to wherever you are. There are winter countries, but this is definitely the very, very, very different time and special for Lapland. This is what spring winter looks like. So we call it the snow crust season, and it's from March to early May. In early March, the mornings can still be very cold. They could be minus 20 degrees, but the sun is up from 5 a.m. and it does warm the place very quickly. So the days can be quite warm. And then towards the Easter and sort of middle, end of April, the day temperatures can be plus 12 or whatever. So it's very different winter. But the snow is different, so not powder anymore. It's hard-packed, kind of crusty, and therefore we can do this. We often head for long expeditions. We do these ski hikes or then snowshoe hikes, and we're able to go to further distances because the weather is a lot milder then. Excuse me, this does look like a tourist brochure, this page, but I just wanted to show you our sports, what we do. And this is the sporty sports. All in the area where we're based, and then moving in local ways. Everything is beginner friendly and instructed and guided, so we'll show you. The idea is that by the time you go home, you have a lot of new skills. Some of the things we can do in multi-sport style, and often in the cold winter we do, so you have a lot of different variety. This also applies to the Finland Arctic Challenge. But then sometimes we can just do, depends a bit on the group, we can just focus on 1 or 2 things. If it's an expedition, it may be just skiing or just snowshoeing altogether. For the powdery time, snowshoeing and backcountry skiing are really good ways to move. The idea is that these actually keep you floating over the snow because otherwise you would sink up to your waist. So that's the only way to get into the sort of pristine scenery and outside the trails. But we do have a good trail network as well of winter trails, and that's where the snow biking and hiking and trail running can come into play. So those trails are wonderful, and they go to the best spots as well. And then you see cross-country skiing. Those two on the bottom left are actually my sisters, and they have no idea they're here. But that is potentially you could say the national sport of Finland. So we do it everywhere. And in Lapland, there's during the warmer time of the winter, there's only 300 kilometers of maintained ski tracks where I'm based, and then plus all the others. But it's a great endurance sport, and especially those who like, for instance, trail running, they love this as well. It's super diversified. You get all your muscles worked out and your fitness at the same time. The picture on the far right shows a little bit of a technique of that. This is what I've taught here for many years to visitors, and it's something that you can pick up in a couple of hours, and then that's the technique, and then it just means like we can go out to the country park and do beautiful ski trips, and you're learning all the time more. But it's just to emphasize that that's not alpine skiing. Alpine skiing is then technical and very different. This is a sport that people love if they like endurance sport, and if they, especially those who aren't keen on heights or have a bit of vertigo, this is nothing like that at all. So we have just small undulations where you ski across the scenery, and you're not restricted to any slopes. Okay, these are the cheat activities. So this is the sort of, you could say, the touristy stuff, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun, and we put this into experiences as well. So in the Finland Arctic Challenge, husky riding is one of the stages on the most likely the final day. Sauna is the most cultural thing probably in Finland, the most authentic thing as well, and depends a little bit on where we stay, but usually there's always traditional wood burn sauna, and that combined with an ice dip is something you'll remember probably for the rest of your life. It's not a must, but it's really, really good. It really gets your adrenaline going and buzzing. Or alternatively, it can be a snowball. But the idea is that when we do sauna, we step outside for a bit to cool down and then come back, and that's really good for your circulation. Okay, then now I think we'll hit the sort of more technical part of the info that you probably want to hear a little bit more. This is maybe to give a little bit of background. So many times every winter I see tourist groups in Lapland, and let's say they are there to try cross-country skiing for the day, and they wear clothing like this, the bottom picture on where you see the girl wearing, so parkas or something that's really, really warm, and they sweat very quickly. They have to open their jackets, and they take their hats off and gloves. They're hanging somewhere, and then they're sick the next day, so they get a cold. And that's exactly what not to wear. So actually, you'd be surprised how little we wear when we do sports. The idea is that we're always wearing layers, and then the additional jackets and the really hot stuff is in the backpack. So whenever we have stops and breaks, then that's where you put the warm clothes on. And safety equipment as well. We always have thermos bottles and things in the backpacks. So there's a picture of a mate of mine from Holland, actually, that you see bottom right, and he looks like he's nearly going to die, right? But he's happy as you can be. He's just exercising. That's a biking trip, actually, and because of the heat that your body will give out, it gets kind of stuck in the overlayers of your clothing. So he's very warm and happy from inside. It's just the hat and the balaclava that gets outside. And also he's not wearing too much, but the extremes are well covered. So here's a example list of what to wear during exercise. So those chicks, the girls in the picture with their backpacks, that looks like your typical kind of minus 20 degrees, even minus 20 degrees snowshoeing gear. They don't wear very much, as you can see, but this is the kind of layering that they have underneath. So again, the idea is that you shouldn't sweat, because if you do sweat, you get very cold when you stop. So it's about adding, removing or adding layers as you need. Our favorite underwear is merino, because what wool does, it wicks the moisture out of your skin, and it's also really, really warm, but it kind of adjusts your body temperature basically. And then between your long underwear and then the outside layers, you have maybe 1 or 2 layers of a bit thinner fleeces, for instance. And then a shell jacket, it's just a shell basically. You can wear padded ski trousers or shell trousers, depends a little bit on the weather. And my recommendation is always that you have vents like zippers in the outer shell clothing, so that you can then also open them when you get too hot and cool down a bit. But what's important is to cover your head, and if it's very cold, -25, you would cover your face with a balaclava, neck with a buff, and then for eyes, we always advise to have ski goggles. You don't need to wear them, but if we go higher up the fell, where it can be windier, then you need to be able to protect your eyes. Warm boots are a must, and I don't expect people to have warm boots, so that's why they can be rented and we can assist with that. And what we often do for the week-long expeditions, for instance, is that we'll give each person 2. That means that you can have a try set for every day, and we don't need to be excited if the ones from the previous day might be still wet. So yeah, so this is what the list looks like for what to wear. And then the key is just to monitor your own body and your mind too when you are in a cold place. But of course, when we are with groups or the Finland Arctic Challenge, we're there to support people and help people. But for somebody like maybe Ahmed, who's heading for another kind of challenge, you may be there yourself more by yourself. So that's just a reminder of look after yourself. When you get cold, your mind may not work too well anymore. So the key is to not to get too cold. Clothing for breaks. So then this is what you would typically have in your backpack. What you don't have in your backpack, you're wearing, and what you're not wearing, you will have in your backpack. So it's about 30-liter backpack, and the most important thing there is your warm jacket. I don't necessarily advise a parka, because parka doesn't pack small very well, but like a expedition weight down jacket is a good one to have. Again, for our adventures, you don't need to go to the shop to buy the most expensive one. Maybe you already have 2 warm 3-season down jackets in your closets, and in that case, as long as they are spacious enough, you can wear them both. The key is to have them spacious, so you have airspace in between and airspace for all your layers. So that's what you put on right away when we get to the kota, for instance. There's a picture of kota, which is like a Finnish fireplace. And then, yeah, make sure you're wearing warm things when we're stopped having a break. And then after, when we go on, you can either start with your warm things, and then in 10 minutes you're warm, then you'll put them away, or you can take them, put in your backpack right away. That's kind of up to you. Chemical hand warmers and feet warmers are handy as well to be used just if you need. And actually, maybe on the fingers and toes, I'll go back 1 slide. So always, wherever you go, forget gloves. Like warm gloves are not warm. You need, for these kind of places, you need mittens. And the reason is that mittens will keep your fingers together, and they are a lot warmer. So you can have undergloves, thinner ones, and then Arctic kind of mittens over, and then you're 100% guaranteed safe. Okay, that's me on the last picture there. You see that the Northern Lights actually are fairly likely. If you're in Lapland for a week, we can never promise them, but the longer you stay, the more likely you will see them. And the best way to see them is just to be out. So we'll be doing all kinds of things, and that's the best way to catch them. Okay, a little bit about the accommodation. So again, I'm talking in a very generic way of what we have. But my own preference, like I said, is impactful, taking people back to the basics, because you have enough modern things in your everyday life, I think. But with some people, we stay in luxury villas, like you see on the right side, and even in the igloo accommodation. Those are very, very cool. But then during the expeditions, we prefer the wilderness, either the lumberjack cabins or wilderness cabins, and like fell huts, basically. And the reason why I love these lumberjack cabins and they are not normally available to stay, but we have made them available, is because they bring so much history and tradition together. So they date back to 100+ years, to the times when the Finnish men were cutting logs, doing forestry work up in Lapland. And these places are very cool because they used to move them. So their work shifted. As they drifted the logs and then they moved to another part of the forest, they had to move their cabin as well. And so they disassembled the cabin and then took them to the new places and then rebuilt them again. So when you are with us and in these locations, and you can see how the fireplaces are constructed and how the logs have been put on, you can kind of see like, that makes sense. Those days they did all the work with horses, of course, so not easy, but I think they did have the stamina. And with the Finland Arctic Challenge, we hope to sort of refine some of that stamina again. All these cabins have the most traditional saunas that you can ever find. So real wood burn saunas, usually separate buildings, and often there is a little river or a pond nearby where we can do dips as well. So that's a wonderful part of the evenings after the whole day of pushing ourselves out there, whatever we do and how much ever we push ourselves. So yeah, and actually staying in bunk beds, so you can see that it's fairly communal. It's about community and being with like-minded people, always when we are on these expeditions. And toilets, you can see two beautiful buildings. The center bottom picture, it's actually outside toilet huts. So that's another thing to get used to, but it's actually fine. Okay, then maybe I will move on to show you a brief video about the Finland Arctic Challenge. Whatever you see in this video, it's basically the ingredients that we'll have and use for a lot of the other things as well. So it's fairly generic in that sense, but at the same time, this gives you an idea of what the event in February is going to be like if you're interested in joining. So just 1 minute of this. Okay, so there we go. So this was actually, so the Finland Arctic Challenge next February is not actually the first time we're doing this. Last winter, I organized this with my team for a very special group of people. What are the lucks that you get Richard Branson as your first official guest to arrive when that happened? So they had a really good time. At that time, it was like a private team building event, but with the same specs basically. And they had a really good time. And from there came the idea well, why don't we open this so that everybody can take part? So 2024 is an edition then where that is open for anybody to sign up for. That's in the picture, that's Richard and his son Sam, and that's them doing the backcountry skiing. Both were new to it, and they picked it up in 5 minutes. Okay, here's the details of the Finland Arctic Challenge, but this actually applies to anybody who's planning to visit this part of Lapland, so Western Lapland. So we are located a little bit, a couple of 100 kilometers above the Arctic Circle, and the airport to arrive is Kittilä. And the timing of this event actually is for the Chinese New Year. So it's so that people from Asia can very easily join during their holidays. And you need to travel over the 11th, and then we'll have a briefing in the host town of Levi in the evening of the 11th. And the actual stages, the 5 stages, will take place from 12th to 16th of February. And then on the 17th, you can stay, continue your holiday in Lapland, or you can move on or return back home. For the flights, Lapland's actually surprisingly easy to reach. So if you are based in Europe, you should check out, because there's quite a lot of towns already that have direct flights to Kittilä, and those are mentioned on the event website. But from Switzerland, Germany, France, and the UK, for instance, there are direct flights on some days. And then elsewhere in Europe, Asia, or the US, you can take a flight to Helsinki. There are good connections, lots with Finnair. Finnair is the national airline of Finland, but also many co-chairs. And from Hong Kong, for instance, there is a direct overnight flight that's super practical. So you fly more or less at midnight, get to Helsinki around 6 a.m., then you have a little wait, and then there's a connecting flight to Kittilä already. So many options. And then if you prefer not to fly in Finland, but would rather take a train, there is a night train basically from Helsinki to Kolari, and Kolari is within the area where we live. But you don't need to remember all of this. You can ask me for updates and tips. So a 5-day multi-sport expedition, and we'll actually time the stages, but this is I emphasize, it's still a personal challenge as opposed to a race. So your folks can follow you as much as possible at home. We'll celebrate the achievements during the stages, of course. And for you, essentially, this is a safe way to challenge yourself and experience the Arctic while you're here. And accommodations, firstly, in a luxury hotel. And then the last night also is in the luxury. We have a big party there, celebration dinner. But then during the expedition, it's all back to basics. So 4 nights at different lumberjack cabins. And I think I've had enough self-supported events for now. So this one I wanted to make supported. That means that everything for you here locally in Lapland is included, from accommodation to meals to the event support, equipment, safety, of course, logistics, medics, everything around the event is included. Also winter boots and a winter suit for the evenings. So there's a lot that you don't need to think about. The only thing you need to think about is getting your flights, that's not included, and then your travel insurance. And then, of course, the clothing and gear, I'll be happy to share the kit list with you afterwards. But the idea is that a lot of that you actually, I think, already have in your, necessarily need to be buying that many things. Your adventure budget for this event is going to be around 5,500 euros with the flights. Depends a little bit on where you come from. And charity is an element. We will be supporting RUN, which is a Hong Kong based charity supporting refugees, vulnerable refugees, and backing up their lives and future. But of course, for you, it's we just recommend, if you would like to, is pick one charity that you find is meaningful to you, because that's it's a good time to have something good in your mind to be able to finish your own challenge, and then also for the people who follow you, they can support this cause as well. Okay, there's our event team for the Finland Arctic Challenge, but also for many other things we do. And event is also backed up by the support team in Hong Kong, as mentioned. Okay, I think I'll conclude here. This is a picture from my backyard. Literally, it is my backyard, so just 50 meters from the door. And this is a scenery in the middle of the, well, in the evening in Lapland. A really pretty place. So Rainer maybe will copy the links again for you that you see here, so it's easy to access those. And if you'd like to get the example gear list that I showed you, feel free to drop your email to the chat, so I can just get back to you then. Or if, of course, if you have any other questions. And I guess probably not much more for now, but now open to the questions if you have any.
I had a question, Rita. The slide before you showed your team. Is there what's the medical team or medical person like, the experience?
For the Finland Arctic Challenge.
Yeah.
So we have a wilderness and sort of ER-based medic at the event. Depends a little bit on the final number of participants of how many will be, but basically there'll be a person dedicated to that. And actually, most of all, in the area we have a very good rescue service. So although with us we'll have staff for that, but also the outside support for rescuing people is good. But again, we will also plan the route, or the route is planned accordingly, so that, of course, like whenever you come to wilderness, you know that you're not going to get a taxi right there where you are, but knowing that there's always a rescue plan.
Thank you.
I have a question, Rita, about the daylight. How many hours of daylight we will have? It's because of headlamps.
Yeah. So on the kit list, you definitely have a headlamp. Now, again, this was a generic session. So for the Finland Arctic Challenge, it's still sort of mid part of February. So what it means is that it gets light about 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 even. And we normally head off. The days are still fairly long, so we try to get out by 9. That means like 6:30 wake up. And then we're back usually around 4 p.m. Well, you're back when you're, when your day is done, but usually around 4 p.m. And that's when it starts being dark already. About 5 p.m. it's dark. So that's for February. But then in December, if anyone's coming in December, days are a lot shorter. So only about 5 hours of daylight. And then again in March, it's starts to be from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. So
Thank you.
Hey Rita, Atul here. I have a question.
yeah, sure.
How many kilometers or miles we have to cover every day?
In the Finland Arctic Challenge, so the total is around 100K. It sounds, I was saying to Ahmed before, it sounds short, but I can assure you it's not, because we'll be going in this kind of powder and with the different disciplines. So the snowshoeing, backcountry skiing, they are slow going methods of moving. You're never going to be good at it. Like I've done it for years, and it's not going to be any more technical. You're always kind of pushing through anyway. So there's not a huge difference in moving speed depending on how much you have done it, because you have the soft snow against you. But at the same time, it's fun. It's very beautiful. So those are the most slow-going sports. Then biking and trail running are, of course, a little bit faster. There's a half marathon planned for this running stage, so that's the 21K. Biking's about 25 to 30K. So that's the idea. But you can expect to be out on the course between 6 to 7 hours. That includes a lunch break as well, which is also a safety break to get warm. And but yeah, essentially the time depends on you how fast you will cover. There are some sections. This is a safety note. When you're in this kind of scenery, it only takes half an hour of snow fall, and you do not see necessarily the track anymore. So therefore, some of the sections in this event are also guided, but then based on different speeds. So then we'll have more people as sort of guides and instructors as well. But where possible, and especially on the snowy trails, then it's kind of you go and we'll track you on the way.
So you said that
Great,
this
thanks.
was you said that this was more of a personal challenge than a race. But then, so is there a finisher's medal or some kind of completion certificate or something?
Yes, certificate we can give. Good questions. Certificate we can give. There's a finisher jacket actually for everybody. Medal is not planned at this moment, unless maybe some bribery I can be convinced. But the jacket's very cool. So giving everyone a memory of the event for sure. Maybe I'll just mention to that as well. The reason why this is not this type of an event is not a race is because we you see some of the and you know some of the Arctic races and challenges that go out on a sort of marked paths that the people will follow. They are often on the roadside, so you're not necessarily in the best scenery, but those are meant to be, you know, events where you just keep going day after day and push yourself. Whereas in this kind of thing, I prefer to take people to see the most beautiful scenery as well. So like ride in the pristine places. But this kind of format it works a little bit better. So that the challenge, and also with the idea in mind that you also have time to stop if you want and look around and really, really enjoy it too. The maximum number of people for this event is for the Finland Arctic Challenge is 30. And one reason is that because it's such a cold time of the year, we need to keep people in warm accommodation, and that's the limit of the accommodation. But it is also nice that it's slightly smaller capacity. Does anyone have questions about the kit? I went through it fairly fast, and I'm happy to share the kit list with you later on. But anything that sometimes I don't think, because for me it's so normal.
Here, Rita Reiner speaking. Is there a possibility for participants, if they have the gears and everything ready or prepared or in mind or in the wardrobe, to have a readiness check for that with you, just to go through a little bit person by person and saying, I have this, I have a head torch, I have this. Is this feasible?
Yeah, of course. And we still plan to have an info session with everyone who's registered. So as you can imagine, it's a bit hard to catch everybody. I've got a bunch of people based in the US now that I'm planning on doing one that is more suitable for their time zone, but we will share this video with them afterwards. But yeah, definitely. So we can keep in touch with email is fine. Later on, maybe a WhatsApp group that we create as well, so people can ask questions, and would like to still have another info call with maybe with just those who plan to do the Finland Arctic Challenge. But for now, I wanted to also make this generic enough, just because I know that know some people who would benefit from the Arctic information in general.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, we hear you, Martin, but not maybe so well.
Sorry about that. Is that
No worries.
better?
Yeah, now it's good. Yeah.
Apologies. Just a quick question, sort of leading on from Derek's question too about ability to push through each day and each challenge, race as opposed to personal challenge. Will there be sort of a ranking on a daily basis, or will participants have the opportunity to be able to just push and you know, sort of give their best and get a sort of a finisher's time on a daily basis and then get an overall ranking for the event?
Yeah, no, definitely. So there'll be rankings, I mean, through the RunRec website actually that people can see and your friends and supporters can see as well. And then each day, of course, so we'll have briefings every day for the morning of the stage. We'll go through like what this day is going to be like, and then the evenings will basically wrap up when we are back at the warm cabin, have had sauna, watching maybe the Northern Lights and having dinner, which may be reindeer or maybe Arctic char or something vegetarian. And that's where we wrap it up for the day, look at the next day, celebrate the results as well. But yeah, definitely we'll go through the rankings. So it's a bit different concept. A lot of you guys are used to like race. This is close to it, but emphasizing that, yeah, the personal challenge. Did that sort of answer the question? Maybe. Okay, anything more? Very happy to, or even just to chat, whatever comes to your mind. If there is anything, we still have a bit of time.
Rita, you mentioned also slightly already that there are a photographer taking photos or maybe videos. Is there a chance to get access to that, or will you send around the nicest photos or some photo book, or how that can work?
Yeah, everyone will get photos on digital formats. That's included. So a few photos of them and a few photos of the scenery. There's possibly a photo book that we can make as well, and that would then be extra. But if you go to the Finland Arctic Challenge website, it's everything is basically there. So also the things that are included, and that list is quite long. So you can see from there, it includes the photos as well. I'm just going to post it on the chat one more time, so then you can see it from there. So yeah, the idea is very much that with this event, it's your chance to experience much of the cool stuff and also the bucket list things about Lapland and being the best scenery, but in a way that it's about, we're bringing the community together, the like-minded people to push, and in a very authentic way. So like I've mentioned, I see a lot of tourists who come and they do those tourist experiences. They go snowmobiling, they may go try backcountry skiing, but at the end, every day they are still returned back to their hotel, and that's kind of where the experience stopped. So the idea with these is that in Finland Arctic Challenge, but also in other events we do, is that the experience doesn't stop, but you're out there with us for the whole time with the local people. Okay. I think, yeah.
Electricity, charging headlamp or other electronic devices, is this feasible? Is there some electricity?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So as you saw, the cabins are very basic. So during this event, you need to bring your own battery power banks and keep them in a warm place. So there's no charging, or at least no guaranteed charging during the stages. Of course, beforehand at the hotel there is. And that's actually a good point about batteries. Cold is not a friend of batteries. So you can guaranteed lose your phone if you keep it in the front pocket without any cover. So when you are out in -20, you should have a padded pouch or a mitten or something that you will then you tuck your phone into that, and then you tuck that package into the warmest place near your body. And that's the way to keep the batteries alive.
Yeah, I think just as a supplement to what Rita was saying, those chemical hand warmers are also very good to keep your batteries alive. When I was in Antarctica, running, just taking my camera to take some pictures, the battery can be gone in less than 10 minutes. A fully charged battery.
Yeah, good point. Very true. Yeah, and again, the full kit list with everything, I'll provide it for everybody who registers, or you can request for it already here. So it is available. Okay, probably no further questions, so we'll close it off for today. But thank you, so much for joining. Whatever way you come to Lapland, you're always welcome, and hope to see many of you at the Finland Arctic Challenge as well. Any questions, anytime, you can just get in touch with me or the Runner Rec guys as well. And yeah, hope to see you very soon.
Rita, one more question or note.